Hello Capsuleer, my name is Gildy and welcome to EVE Online.
Some of you might have been ganked in the past and thought that it's not fair, that there is no way to defend yourself, that hunters have the advantage. But people do forget there is a way to push back, get away and deny gankers their content. Today we will talk about the Kerber's best friends, defensive modules. I have split them into two categories: modules that allow you to escape a gank, breaking tackle on you in more than one way, and then we also have modules that allow to avoid a gank. It goes without saying that if you find that I missed any module, do let me and everyone else know in the comments, because the more ways there are to not get ganked, the better. So, about modules that let you escape a gank. First, most common module is the warp core stabilizer, commonly used module in newbie hauling ships. This module counteracts attempts to use warp disruptors and warp scramblers on your ships. Typical warp disruptor has a warp scramble strength of 1, a warp scrambler has a strength of 2. A warp core stabilizer does take away 2 points from your ship when you activate it, meaning that if you have 2 warp disruptors on you or 1 warp scrambler, you will be able to still warp away. If the ganker uses a warp scrambler and disruptor, 2 warp scramblers or a faction scrambler, then they will still hold you down. The module runs from 10 seconds at Tech 1 to 15 seconds at Tech 2 variant. Reactivation delay is a staggering 150 seconds, so if you get out, you need to pray that the gankers won't follow you right away. The drawbacks of this module in Tech 1 variant being installed on your ship are: drone bandwidth decreased by 50%, scan resolution decreased by 50%, and targeting range decreased by 50%. Those penalties get lowered with Meta and then Tech 2 modules. Moreover, this module does not save you from the effect of warp disruption bubbles, as you need a different separate module in order to deal with those. This module is best used to avoid gate camps in high sec or when ninja mining in low sec. Best ship to use it with is the Venture, as it does have a +2 passive warp core stabilization, allowing you to shake off 2 scramblers with this module activated. Similarly, deep space transport ships also have the +2 passive warp core stabilization, making them not only super tanky for high sec transport, but also hard to catch. Fun fact: this used to be a passive module, allowing you to stack warp core stabilization, but now you can only use 1 and then you need to activate it for it to work. Another thing which you might put into your ship, even though it is not a module really, is ECM drones. Those are limited to Omega clones only, but can be a great help when it comes to shaking off gankers. ECM works on a principle that if you get jammed, you can only for the duration of the jam target the ship, or in this example drone, that jammed you, making you lose target on all current targeted ships. I myself prefer Helios as my exploration ship because it is the only one with a drone bay for a single small drone, and that little Hornet EC300 has saved my exploration frigate more than once. Thing to note here is that those drones are not a guaranteed get out of gank free card, as they do have a very limited ECM jammer strength. Hornet EC300 has jammer strength of 1, Vespa EC600 has a jammer strength of 1.5, and Wasp EC900 has a jammer strength of 2. And the chance to ECM jam someone with a single jammer is counted by dividing the ECM jam strength by the sensor strength of the target. But since in places like wormholes you might be hunted by small ships like Astros or bombers, having a flight of those drones will give you a chance or two before you get blown up to break the lock and let you warp off. Just to give you a quick rundown, a single Hornet EC300 has a 4.1% chance to jam a bomber every cycle, and against an Astro it has a 6.4% chance of jamming. That is, if your enemy has fully trained their respective sensor compensation skills, which gives them extra 20% sensor strength. And while we are at the topic of ECM jamming, how about having a surprise for more than one target around you? Enter Burst Jammer. 6 jammer strength on Tech 1 module and 7.2 jammer strength on Tech 2 within 10 km radius around you, making it possible to break lock of multiple enemies around you at once. The only drawbacks of this module are massive power cost, so frigates will mostly struggle to use this module on anything but full capacitor. Also, massive risk using this in high sec, as this is an offensive module, so it takes just one non-suspect or criminal around you to get yourself concorded. Therefore, it is recommended to use this in low sec or null sec. And lastly, the cycle time for this module is 30 seconds, so you can only try to jump someone twice a minute. Lastly for this video, but not least, as promised, preventing ganks. Remember that if the enemy cannot lock you, they cannot tackle you. Using a cloak device on ships you travel with can be a lifesaver. I have already covered the topic of micro warp drive cloak jump trick for haulers, and will have this video link pop up on your screen right now, but cloak can be so much more. It not only allows you to shake off gankers on gates, letting you warp off, run through bubbles without getting caught by campers, but it also is the only module that makes you completely undetectable. No directional scanner, no combat probes can touch you when you are cloaked. For ships that can use covered ops cloak, this means basically full freedom of movement in systems, with no penalties to movement speed. For other ships, this means you can micro warp drive cloak jump out of gates where camps can be, or even when slowed down, you can outrun anyone trying to decloak you with the initial speed boost of the propulsion module. Do keep in mind that you are not completely invulnerable when under the effect of cloak, because things like missiles, bombs from stealth bombers flying next to you, and other ships getting within the 2000 meters from you can still uncloak you. Also, the bomber bombs and smart bombs can still damage you, though they will not uncloak you. And also, if someone successfully locks you, you cannot cloak until that lock is broken. There is also a deployable that can be put into systems which will ping the whole system and have a set chance at decloaking you. That chance is 40% every 10 minutes up to an hour and a half of this deployable being active. You can of course keep being cloaked by recloaking, as each cloaking up gives you a 15-minute timer, which makes you invulnerable to the effects of Mobile Observatory, because this is the name of that deployable. However, that makes sure that you cannot just AFK cloak in a system for hours on end if someone would actually be looking for you. So, circling back to the cloaks, the drawbacks of these amazing modules is: for prototype cloaking device you get 90% penalty to movement speed, inability to warp while cloaked, and a 50% scan resolution penalty. Improved cloaking device gives you 75% penalty to movement speed, inability to warp while cloaked, and 40% scan resolution penalty. As I mentioned a moment ago, this will be the end of this video. There are a few modules that I still want to mention, which might have more niche use compared to the most popular ones I talked about today, but since that would end up being a massive info dump, I decided to split it up a bit to keep the information in nice, smaller and easier to digest chunks. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to see my future uploads. If you are interested in what I will talk about next, my videos go up every Sunday. And if we never see each other again in Space Capsulia, fly safe!